I'm here with Jim interviewing Jim, Pathfinder, on Reiki Shamanism, a guide of out-of-body healing. Hello, Jim.
Hello.
Jim, you have been practicing shamanism for many, many years, I think 30 years from what I read. Can you tell us what actually learning about Reiki and becoming a Reiki master and now teacher, how did that brought your shamanism practices to a whole other level?
I think maybe in the shamanic tradition, I'll tell a story.
Yeah.
I had practiced shamanism for many years in a number of different ways, starting with in dreaming as a child, and then had learned techniques over the years. In 1992, I fell out of a tree and shattered my leg. And so I had pain. It was not just pain. They put my leg back together. They thought maybe I might never walk again. It was 50-50 whether I'd keep my leg. And so when they put it back together, it was put back together with pins and cadaver glue and so forth. And for several years, I walked around with pain that was chronic pain. It wasn't a question of if it hurt, it was a question of how much it hurt. It was terrible, terrible pain. And so after I'd had this for several years, I was attending a conference on shamanism, and I was sitting there and I told the person I was with, I said, my leg is really hurting me today. And there was a lady who was sitting behind me, and this was in 2000. And a lady sitting behind me, and she said, I'm a Reiki master. If you'd like, during the break, I could work on it. And so I said, sure, anything. And so during the break, I watched this woman just hold her hands over my scarred leg, which I had what was called tertiary arthritis, which the bones basically rubbing against each other.
Ooh.
And in 15 minutes, the pain went away. Now, mind you, I had been walking for years, hobbling with chronic pain, and the pain went away.
Wow.
And so I told the woman, I said, I don't know what you did, but I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that started me on, even though had been practicing shamanism for a long time, I learned something. I said, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. I've got to learn how to do this. So I looked and I found a Reiki teacher, and I learned Reiki, and I pursued it and so forth. And so then naturally, since it was part of my medicine bag, you might say, of tools for healing, I incorporated it with shamanism. In other words, using Reiki during the shamanic journey. And so that's what this book is about. It's for people who are already practicing shamanism, and they want to add to their medicine bag so that they can be more effective at it, and for people who are practicing Reiki and want to learn how to expand their way of viewing and healing in the world.
So what else did you learn? I guess you were pretty receptive to it too on that day. And what I know from Reiki is that once it calls you, you're powerfully called to learn about Reiki. I've experienced that myself, and then it's just the journey has started. But I guess you took it pretty quickly to a whole other level than someone that would just start with Reiki from scratch. So how would you have any recommendations or things for people practicing shamanism or things that you would like to share that you're sharing in your book?
Well, I would say, first off, to get a Reiki attunement, and then you can learn more about it. And I would say get a Reiki 1 and 2 at least, so that you can have the symbols and know what they mean. It's much easier to you have to satisfy your rational mind, your left brain some, to feel comfortable doing what you're doing. I mean, that's part of shamanism, is walking between the worlds. In other words, if you can't relate what you see and what you do in this world, then you're not practicing, say, as well as you should. Some people might think you're just a crazy person, So we have to walk between the worlds. We have to satisfy our left brain and right brain too. And so I would say to to get a Reiki attunement and then work with it. You can follow in the book the steps and procedures, and also I share journeys that I've had that explain how ways of viewing that might help you. For example, if you are adept at in the shamanic journey, you know that sometimes you see things and you don't know what they are, and you can always ask your power animal or whatnot, your spirit guides, to help you to see in a better way. And I tell my students, for example, that you can liken it to being at the eye doctor, and he's got those little lenses that where you can see the E better or whatnot, and so it clicks back and forth and it gets into sharper focus. And you can do the same thing in the shamanic journey, so that you can see better what's going on when you're working on someone. One way of looking at it may be a way of visualizing prayer. We tell people that, or a way of seeing how positive healing energy works. Where we don't always, we know that, for example, prayer works. We know that when you go and journey, you see things and can help people, but we aren't often able to bridge that gap between how to make healing power into a visual way. And what Reiki can do for someone who is practicing shamanism is to expand your ability to help other people by actually translating healing power into a way in which you can manipulate it and direct it and see the benefits of it directly. I'll give an example. When I the first time I journeyed after having a Reiki attunement, I saw the Reiki guides, and to me, it looked like a totem pole, a big purple totem pole. And so I went into the totem pole, inside the totem pole, and inside it was filled with all these little bitty TV screens. And so in each one of those little TV screens was actually the healing hand, someone actually healing with Reiki in each one of those. And inside that totem pole with all those little TV screens, I could actually enter through that little TV screen and be present with the healing wherever it was, wherever the Reiki was being practiced. So I mean, that's a pretty mind-boggling thing right there.
Well, thank you so much. I think our listeners can definitely, and viewers can go and get your book really to learn more about it and the step by step as you describe it. Thank you, Jim. Jim Pathfinder is the author of Reiki Shamanism, a guide to out-of-body healing. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.